Hey everybody, and welcome back to the next episode in my Just How Good Is the Line 6 Helix series. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to take the Helix and I'm going to kind of pit it against some other well-known devices and plugins that excel in the department of reverb effects. So one thing I hear from a lot of folks online and the common discussion is that the Line 6 Helix really suffers in the reverb department. And I kind of have never really understood why they would say that. I think for what is in there, it does what it does very, very well. Now, are there reverb units out there that are more tweakable with more parameters and more features? Absolutely. But that's not really the point. The point is how good are the quality of what is given there within the given parameters that we have to work with. And I'll even actually talk about how we can kind of expand those parameters a little bit in an upcoming video. But today what I wanted to do is sort of do another blind test. I really enjoy these because it really, as I was mentioning in my last video about this, takes away something called confirmation bias, right? Where if we know what we're listening to, our pre-existing opinion or bias is going to mold what we sort of decide is the better outcome possibly, right? So this is going to be fun. I'm going to do 4 different reverbs. I'm going to have the Line 6 Helix. I'm going to have the STRYMON Blue Sky pedal. I'm going to have the IK Multimedia Sunset Sound Studio Reverb plugin. And I'm also going to have the Sunset Plate Reverb from the FRACTAL FM3. So that kind of gives it away. I'm going to use the plate setting on these. Obviously, there's so many different types of reverbs we have in all of these units that it would make it pretty much impossible to cover all of them. And maybe one excels more in one area and another excels more in another area. Some people would maybe think that the spring reverbs in the Helix aren't as good as something else, and maybe they're not. We'd have to do a direct comparison with just those, and maybe that's a good video for the future, is to compare that to some of the other spring effects out there. But for this one I chose quite a popular reverb, which is the plate reverb. So the IK Multimedia plugin is a relatively new, sometime in the last year was released by the fine folks at IK Multimedia, and it's apparently a faithful recreation of the Sunset Sound Studio Plate Reverb. I'm assuming the FRACTAL FM3 Sunset Plate is also attempting to do the same thing. Obviously, the Helix is not necessarily going after recreating the particular Sunset Studio Plate Reverb, so there may be some differences, nor do I believe is the STRYMON. So this is a little bit of a tricky one because each reverb has its own different parameters and implemented in tweaking them in different ways. So what I did is I really tried, I did one guitar performance just of a couple chord stabs so that we could hear the decay on it, and then a little lick and then another chord stab. So we can kind of hear, a chord stab, the reverb decay, and really listen into the qualities of that. Then I did a little lick so we can hear how that kind of blends in with a more musical idea, and then another chord stab. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play these, so I'll play, sort of reverb A, reverb B, reverb C, reverb D back to back, but then I'll do shorter snippets of reverb A, B, C, D, which will always be the same corresponding to reverb A in the previous examples. So we can hear the decay and then kind of the lick where it's going to be more part of the music. And all I'm really asking everybody to do is tell me which one, not necessarily which one you think is which. When we have 4 devices, it's going to be almost impossible to say, oh, I think that's the FRACTAL, I think that's the Helix, I think that, that would be pretty difficult. But just tell me which one you prefer and which one you just kind of like the sound of better. Now, one thing I will say is something like the FRACTAL FM3. Very tweakable. There's a lot of parameters in there. Basically what I did is I dialed in the Helix version and the Sunset Studios plugin by IK Multimedia to sound kind of in the ballpark of what I think I could use in a mix. Fairly long decay though, and fairly heavy mix because I wanted you to be able to actually hear what was going on. And then I dialed the FRACTAL in to get sort of close to that, and the STRYMON to get sort of close to that as well. I find both the FRACTAL FM3 and the STRYMON Blue Sky are capable of a wider array of tones just because of the tweakability of them. But we're not really testing that, we're just testing more the quality of the reverb here. And as I said, I will do a video about some ways we can add some of those different parameters to the Helix by being creative with our presets, okay? For now though, let's go through this. So all I want you to listen to are the following examples, and then at the end, please leave in the comments which one you prefer, which one you thought sounded the best for your taste. And again, this is all in good fun. This really doesn't mean much of anything. because every situation is going to call for possibly something different, as well as every person is going to call for something possibly different depending on their particular situation. And an individual may even call for different settings and different sounds for whatever situation they're in. So this is just more fun, again, just to kind of see if the Helix reverbs are quite as bad as everybody thinks, or if they're quite usable even with their limited tweaking ability. So without further ado, here we go. Okay, so what did you think? That was probably a lot to listen to. And again, I should have mentioned it before, but please give it a listen, not just on your cell phone or tablet or laptop speakers. You're really probably not going to hear any of the intricate details inside of those reverb tails and whatnot to really be able to even differentiate between them. So give it a good listen on a good set of headphones or a good set of speakers. Headphones are probably even preferable, just because you'll really isolate the sound and really hear what's going on. One question I can sort of anticipate being asked is the Fractal FM3, I put it on the highest DSP usage setting for the reverb. Now, the interesting thing about that, that's the only one of these reverbs that you can sort of change the quality and kind of alter the DSP usage. I don't know how realistic that's going to be in a full preset in the FM3, simply because I believe with just an input-output block and that reverb unit, I was about 52% of the whole processing power of the unit. Yikes, so pretty heavy-duty processing power, but in listening to that on the economy setting versus the highest setting, there is quite a big difference on the reverb. So very nice to have that setting, though, so that we can adjust it to what we need. But I wanted to be fair about it and give the Fractal its full benefit and give it sort of the highest setting. So please leave your comments below which one you prefer. I mean, if you want to throw out there which one you think is which, that might be fun too. But again, guys, all in good fun. I'm not looking to get in an argument with anybody about this. Some people get very upset when you do these kind of comparison videos. In a few days, I'm going to release the results of which one was which, and also dive into exactly what settings I used and what my methodology was for doing this, and we can give them a listen again. All right, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Thanks for participating. I really appreciate it. I hope some of you guys are enjoying this little series. Please like the video and share it with anybody who you think would get some use out of it, and also subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Ciao for now.